Hi, welcome to my best bipolar life. And today I'm going to do something different for my second video. I'm going to play some Tetris and have a little chat and just see what comes up. I'm going to discuss bipolar disorder, as this channel is all about that. But I'll kind of see what other topics I get into also. So hope you like it. So first, start up with classic NES Tetris. And I'm lucky to get past level 11 or 12 in this game, which I just watched Classic Tetris World Championships, and it's amazing what those mostly kids can do. And I say kids because I'm 43 years old, so to me they're kids. But I think the most entertaining thing is listening to the announcers do the play-by-play, and one of them was a former video game champion himself when he was young, and so he has this. There was this player that won like 7 championships in a row or something like that. His name was Jonas, and he played this other person named Jeff, and they were like down to the last 2, so this was like the championship. He, during the match, when one of them got a Tetris, he would say, "Boom, Tetris for Jonas, boom, Tetris for Jeff," and it got to be this meme. And so ever since, now he says, "Boom, Tetris for this person," or they're neck and neck. So I don't know if any of you have seen that, but I'll link the final match of the 2024 World Championships down in the description of the video, so if you're interested in seeing that. So in my last video, I mentioned that something I want to talk about next time was how to advocate for yourself in the workplace when you have bipolar disorder. And I want to make a separate video on that because I think it's a really interesting topic that deserves a whole video and research to really do it justice. But I will just mention that, how important it is to advocate for yourself in employment situations. And one thing I could mention is, if you do have bipolar disorder or another disability, or even a serious mental illness that's not considered a quote-unquote disability, but does affect your ability in life to do things and take care of yourself, that you probably encountered a question on job applications that asks do you have a disability? And it mentions that, I think it mentions that it has no bearing on your employment decision, but there's this, you don't have to answer it. I think you used to have to answer that question. And I still, at that time, wouldn't answer that I have a disability because I was like, bipolar isn't a disability. It doesn't, I'm still just as able. But I've had to come to the realization over the years that I'm not just as able. This does impede my ability to do things. And so I started answering it as yes, but then and I've applied for jobs a lot. Clearly, I've had trouble keeping employment, so I've encountered a lot of job applications. But now I'm recently looking, and I've been answering it as I prefer not to answer, and I've been doing that just to kind of protect in case it would affect me at all, to have it not do that. But in my last job that I had for the longest period of time, recently, I had the ability to talk to my manager really candidly. Like she she was really there for all of us and didn't just say it. You know, a lot of managers say, I have an open door policy, or I'm there for you no matter what. Hey, if you are having problems, mental health issues, you know, we have lots of resources here. You know, we have LifeWorks. So if you ever need to talk to anybody, you can call this confidential crisis line. And it's like, that's great. I mean, it's not unusual that employers offer that. But for people who are having average, you know, every week, or maybe even not average, but they're having problems maintaining their mental health, but aren't experiencing like a life or death crisis, there's not a lot of resources out there. And there's times when I'm experiencing something like that and it affects my attendance because I feel like I cannot face the day or the week and I need a day off, and I just cannot do it another way. So what do you have to do in that case? Well, you probably make something up, right? But to this manager, I didn't have to do that. I was straightforward and said, I'm having a really bad mental health day, and it's to the point where if I worked, I could probably get through it, but it's going to be detrimental to my health this week. And she totally understood. And she was like, I totally get it. Take a day off, and if you need to take another one, just, you know, let me know, keep me in the loop, and I'm there for you. And where it really made a big difference, and she stepped up in that area as my manager and advocated for me when I asked for help, was when I was experiencing, you know, close family member that was having a mental health challenge, and I was trying to support them in their health, and I needed some time off, and so it wasn't even for me, and I ended up having to take a leave of absence too. But she was completely understanding, completely empathetic, but also like backed it up with actual action. Said, hey, I'm going to help protect your job, you know, just keep me aware of any changes, and I'll be there for you. And that made a big difference in changing my viewpoint on how an employer can be supportive, if you give them a chance. Because if they don't know why you're taking so much time off, they don't have the ability to be empathetic. And sometimes I doubt that every employer would be that empathetic, because we live in this hyper capitalistic, individualistic society where if you have a mental illness and you're seen as not as reliable, you're seen as, I think there's at least an understanding to where you view yourself and other people view you as not reliable and not worth keeping around. So I think that stigma still exists and is still alive and well. And until that completely goes away, there will always be a pressure to hide your mental illness and to hide your reason for missing work. So I think it's important to give your employer a chance to support you. And these days, with how much competition there is for employers to provide workplaces that give you work-life balance, you're much more likely to face a supervisor that is understanding of that and is willing to work with you. And so what else can we talk about? I think I would also like to talk about today on what the impact is to relationships when you have bipolar or experience, you know, job difficulties. Because usually with job difficulties can come money difficulties too. And I think that's a big reason why, you know, I'm separated, and probably soon to be divorced in the next several months here. And that's, I think, a big reason for it is that I wasn't able to hold down jobs. And I was just discontent in jobs. I was always restless. I was always very capable to get a job and to be relatively competent at it. So I wasn't getting like fired and things like that. Usually I would get more mental health issues as the job went on. And after 2 or 3 years, I would find myself needing to, my absences would get worse and worse. And maybe I would get bored with the job, frustrated with a manager or another coworker. And I would feel like I've lost face in the job. Like I feel like ashamed of where I was, or maybe where I thought I would be after a certain period of time, and not getting a promotion, or getting a promotion actually in my last position, and feeling not competent in that promotion. So feeling this pressure to perform, and my manager would constantly tell me, because I would communicate that to her in reviews, and she would say, Justin, you're doing just fine. You are, give yourself some grace. You're still new at this, and I'm really impressed of how you're handling it and how you're doing. But I wouldn't believe her. I'd be like, you're blowing smoke up my ass. I don't feel like I'm doing, how good you're saying, and I feel insecure about the job and how I can perform in the future. And it wasn't a supervisor position, but it involved some employee coaching, and it kind of dabbled a little bit in the supervisor world. And that made me really uncomfortable, because it's, I think, hard enough for me to be there for my own mental health, but to be there for other employees, to be someone to talk to and to support them was scary. So basically I ended up quitting, just like I have all my other jobs, where I'm like, okay, I feel like I've worn out my welcome. I feel like this job isn't going to work out, and so I might as well quit. And what I found out was that my wife was pretty tired of this happening, and she was like, well, great, this happened again. He's out of work again. And this time was for an extended period of time. I was able to get like a part-time job, but it wasn't helping pay the bills, and I was becoming kind of a burden, to her. And that's a sucky thing when you have a mental illness and you feel like a burden to people, because I think you can legitimately be a burden, and it's a lot to ask. It's a lot to ask loved ones to be continually supportive of that, because in the end, if they're not, we all want our needs met, and if their needs aren't met for an extended period of time, people will be forgiving, but everybody has a limit. And so I don't hold any ill will towards her, and I hope for the best there. We also made a child together, and I'll always be thankful for her for that, because let's face it, she did all the work there, and I tried to support the best I could, but she's amazing in that respect. And so it's just, I almost felt like with relationships too, like I'm taking a break from even thinking about that. My divorce is not even finalized, so I really have no interest in even entertaining that idea in my mind. But I know when and if that does happen again, when I meet somebody, I've thought to myself, I need to meet someone that's not as crazy as I am, because I need to have someone support me, but I guess just not having as much mental illness as I have. And I say that facetiously, because I know that saying people with mental illness are crazy, even though I have it and I just said that. I know that that's not a positive connotation, and it really paints people in a particular light. So, yeah, I just mean someone with maybe a less severe mental illness than I have, or little to no mental illness. But that might be hard to find. I think it's pretty typical for people who are mentally ill to find other people who are mentally ill, because they can relate, you know. But when you're both facing such a heavy burden, whether it be anxiety, depression, OCD, whatever else it might be, it's really hard to support someone else when you're going through hell yourself. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about today. I think I'll probably do this again. We're chatting and playing a game, because it kind of is get in an interesting mind space, where you're just kind of focused on the game and you're just chatting. So let me know if you like it. And hope you have a great day. Talk to you later.